morning and welcome to the Buddhist Temple of Toledo. Please have a seat and turn to page 2 in your liturgy book. And we'll start with the Gatha of Atonement. Gatha of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. Nikaya 3 Refuges. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge in Sangha. The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. Mahayana refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, and may their vows be completely realized. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit to the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred. How close to some and distant from others. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. For our reading today, please turn to page 44 in the readings book, The Ship of Compassion. The Ship of Compassion. Night rain washes the mountain cliffs, the dawn greens soaked through. Sitting, I meditate on emptiness as fresh breezes fill the temple. Words are inherently empty, and yet still I am fond of brush and ink. My mind like ashes after the fire, and yet still I am tied to the world. Window bamboo, empty mind. Courtyard pine, innate purity. The trunk of this lofty green tree, neither inherently form nor no form. Between bell and fish drum, I have yet to grasp the essence of Dharma. Yet I get a whiff of its fragrance, as if I were aboard the ship of compassion. Now please stand for the Heart Sutra. And it can be found on page 4 of the liturgy book. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep Prajna Paramita, clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, no stomach, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, also no ending of ignorance, and so on, to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by prajnaparamita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond delusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajnaparamita, attaining anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajnaparamita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajnaparamita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim: Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para, gate, parsam, gate, bodhisvaha. All living things are one seamless body and pass quickly from dark to dark. We remember you who cared for us and are gone, you who are ill, you who are at war, who are hungry and who are in pain. May you heal and have peace. We especially dedicate the merits of this practice to Suju, those suffering in Ukraine, Sarakir, as well as those names we hold in the silence of our hearts, and those whose names we now voice aloud. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita. Please prepare for Zazen. can hear. Those in rows 1 and 3 will turn to the right at the sound of the clappers, and those in rows 2 and 4 will turn to the left. Follow the person in front of you, start out at a slower pace, and when the clappers sound a second time, pick it up to about a walking pace. have a seat. And we're all, sorry, don't have a seat. We will now recite the Song of Covenant, which can be found on page 8 of the liturgy book.
Which was collected and taken from
Which is collected and taken from you. So if you know it, say aloud. If you don't, do the best you can.
There's probably one under your cushion.
I think it's okay.
Begin.
We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Now please have a seat. Please sit comfortably so that you can see the teachers.
Wardrobe malfunction. Gata on opening the Sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
From Rengetsu. As a nun gazing at the deep colors of autumn, clad in black robes, I should have no attractions to the shapes and scents of this world. But how can I keep my vows, gazing at today's crimson maple leaves? Clad in black robes, I should have no attractions to the shapes and scents of this world. But how can I keep my vows, gazing at today's crimson maple leaves? So today we're going to look at one of our female ancestors in the Buddhist tradition, the nun Rengetsu. And some preliminary thoughts and remarks about women in Buddhism in general. It would appear that practicing Zen, practicing Buddhism in a female body, seemed to have so many complications that it was best to wait and to be born in a male body because there's less complication. So, what is so interesting about women in Buddhism is that we are embracing the complication as Dharma practice, as path. And things never quite go exactly to plan. And I think as a woman dealing with family and children and cooking meals and keeping it all together, we are the masters of being able to ride that things not going exactly to plan, right? And we've seen that so beautifully working out today, just we were sitting here, right? And also, there's this sense of there were so few women documented in the conversation in the history of Buddhism that when we do hear about them, it sort of feels like they're a little bit on the edge or a little bit kind of looking in, right? And it's so interesting because as Western, let's say practitioners in North America of Buddhism, we are very much on the edge of the historic trajectory of Buddhism up until now, kind of looking in, right? And trying to figure out how does this work within our lives, especially our lives as people who are not in the monastery. Now, it was mostly, as we learned the other week, women could not be part of the male monastery. And they oftentimes had to practice while still in their family situation. They weren't allowed to just say, hey, gotta go, right? And I think that the complications that they had really resonate with kind of the complications that we have today as people practicing in our lives and in the messiness of our lives. I wanted to say yesterday we had a koan salon with Melissa Blacker Roshi, who was our koan master, our teacher, one of them. And by the way, she's probably, I would say, in the top 5 koan masters in the country. She is exceptionally good at this. And she has brought many, many people through I think she talked about, it's up to like 2,500 or something. Yeah, 2,500. She's brought many, many people through that entire curriculum. So she's really quite extraordinary. And yesterday, I loved how she was really calling us through this koan salon that we did to appreciate that right here, exactly as we are, with all of the complications of our life and of our mind and of our emotional states and of our physical health, this is the Buddha's place. This is the Buddha arising. This is the place of practice. And I say all these things because Rengetsu was very much a teacher like Melissa, actually, very much teaching out of her life experience. And she had quite a life experience. And I think it's so important to hear of Buddhist practitioners whose lives have been touched by so much loss and pain and abandonment and death, so that we can really appreciate that our life, with all of its loss and abandonment and pain and death, is also the perfect place for our awakening. This is so, so, so important. So I wanted to just go through her life a little bit, because it's kind of interesting. And it's sort of like in this 6 degrees of separation, touches on Perrysburg, Ohio. So we'll get to that part. So Rengetsu was born in 1791. So, quick location, American Revolution, 1776. Right, so you kind of get a vibe of what time period she was in. She was born in the pleasure quarter of Kyoto, which means her parentage was, her birth parents were a samurai, a high-ranking samurai, and a young geisha. So just appreciate that for a minute. Born on the wrong side of the town to a mother and father that were not married and were never going to be married. So how was she going to be raised? And just right there, right? Well, this samurai apparently had enough connections that he was able to take her to this Pure Land temple, and there was a lay priest there, and the lay priest agreed to raise her. So just appreciate that for a minute. This male priest running this Pure Land temple says, sure, I'll take in this child, this infant. I don't know how to be fed, I don't know all the details, but it was complicated, right? I'm sure. Trying to get up for morning service and the baby's crying. How did that work, right? While she was there, it worked somehow. He educated her as if she were a man. So she was educated in martial arts. She was educated in calligraphy. She was educated in literature. And you can also kind of think about, she had samurai dad and geisha mother. I mean, both of those would be highly educated and very sophisticated people. So apparently she was quite brilliant and quite smart and just boom, 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 caught on really quick. And then he sent her away when she was 8 years old. So, how interesting, right, for Rengetsu, because she was already abandoned at birth, raised by this guy in this temple, and it seemed to go okay, but 8 years old, you gotta go. Right, so today, we think about that, and it's like, wow. I think we would call that a traumatic situation, like 2.0, right? So she was actually sent to a castle to be an attendant for a lord. And they must have seen her quickness and her brightness, and also appreciate that she was able to beam through any of the trauma that was happening in her mind as she kept on being abandoned, right? So this is an incredible, very resilient person, right? And she's able to be socially aware enough to have a relationship with these people, to convince them that her education should continue. I mean, this is a lot of character and substance. So while she was there, she continued her martial arts practice. She was a jiu-jitsu black belt, as we would say today. She continued in her calligraphy study, which, by the way, you've noticed these pots flashing on the screen here. These are all her work. She created 55,000 pieces of art. But I haven't gotten there to the source, so try to stay with me. Sorry, I shouldn't have distracted you there. She also learned tea ceremony. So a lot of her pots would have been used in the tea ceremony. So she's there for 8 years, and then she gets called back to the temple. So all those relationships, everything she had developed there, another rupture, another break, right? And it appears that her adopted father, this priest in the Pure Land Temple, wanted to get her married. So, and here's your husband, right? Did she know him? Probably not. Interesting to really think about that in light of today, the way we live today, right? Now, she married him, and they had 3 children. The first baby died. The second baby lived to be 3 years old and died. And the third baby died in infancy. So that's 3 down. And then apparently her husband probably was completely bereft because of this, all this death of all of his children, just started drinking like crazy and was, probably abusive. Not a good guy. So she separates from him, which is also a big deal for a woman back in the early 1800s. Maybe they were thinking about getting back together, we don't know. But he died. So everybody's gone. I believe her adopted father said, okay, let's try again, right? I've got somebody else for you. So he had her married off again. The second husband died when she was pregnant. So she had her child as a widow. Apparently she had another child before that, so she had 2 children. No means of support. No familial relations. The only familial relation she had was this Buddhist priest, this Pure Land Buddhist priest. Can you imagine? All that death, all of those relationships, gone, severed, either through death or abandonment or social separation. So her adopted father, this Pure Land priest, takes her back, and he gives her a little hut on the grounds of this Pure Land temple. she's there with her 2 kids. Somehow, some way, she is practicing. She's practicing Pure Land. She's practicing Zen. She's also practicing Vajrayana Buddhism. Very unusual for anybody in Japan to study all 3, let alone a woman studying all 3. So she's just a remarkable woman, right? So I think for a period of time, things were going pretty well. She was ordained a nun by her adopted father there, and I think there was some stability. I'm assuming that the tribe or the Sangha was somehow helping her with her children. Then, in 1832, she's 41 years old, the priest dies. Okay, so her protector, the one who was helping her with her shelter, is now dead. And you know what that means. It'd be like if Isabella was living at the Abbacy and Rinson and I both died. Well, she can't stay there anymore. So that's what happened to Rengetsu. Right. And then, just to really put a fine point on it, somehow these 2 children also died. God, I know, really. So, honestly, if you ever start thinking, my life really sucks, think about Ukraine and think about Rengetsu. Okay? So, there she is, completely alone. But she has her training, she has her mind, she has her heart, and she has her hands. Right? She was going to teach Go, which is kind of like Japanese chess. But she decided against it because she realized, it's mostly men that practice Go. And if I start teaching these men and I keep on winning, it's not going to go well. No pun intended. So she decided against it. She was going to teach poetry, but then she realized, oh wait, I need to market myself, right? I'm a poetry teacher. But she was a nun, and she had taken a vow of simplicity, right? So she sort of decided, well, I think I'll learn how to make pots. Here she is, leading this completely devastated life, in midlife, in her mid-40s, saying, okay, I'm going to make pots. What the heck? Right? Not only does she decide she's going to make pots, she's going to learn how to dig that clay out of the ground. And that's what she does. Incredible. And imagine doing all of this work in the midst of practice, in the midst of unrelenting, I would say, probably grief, right? So much loss, so much loss. Yet she's digging up that clay. And she's, by hand mostly, creating these vessels. And then she takes nails and all that beautiful calligraphy that she learned how to do, she does the calligraphy on the pots with the nails. And there you see it. Well, not there, it was the other one. Anytime you don't see that would be the nails, I think. Well, anyway, if you see a depression, you know it's a nail. And look at her. Her work is so feminine and so has a lot of grace to it, right? Her calligraphy. Very thin lines. Usually you see very thick lines. There, that would have been the nails. So, her career as like the preeminent artist of Japan has begun. And she didn't even realize what she was doing. She's just trying to like make a living. And she got so popular because her poetry that she inscribed on the pots and on the various ceramics was so sort of simple and evocative and accessible that everybody could relate to it, right? And this is what we want from our practice. We want to have this very simple, earthy, relating to what's true right now. This is our practice. Because what is true right now is not separate from our Buddha nature. So, as I said earlier, she went on to make 55,000 works, so practically every household in Japan had a pot of hers, right? She did some calligraphies. I found one on Etsy for like $300, and I was thinking, oh, maybe we should get that. And I also found on Etsy this pot that says, in the Rengetsu style, right? And the reason why there's pots like this is because she was so generous with her work that if someone an artist came to her with a pot they had made, she would do the calligraphy on the pot. So you don't know who made the object, right? Was it her or the person that made the pot? One kiln actually said, we want to go into business with you. We'll make the pots, you do the calligraphy. So it's very hard to actually authenticate her work because she was so generous with just helping everybody and giving her skill away. And that generosity in the midst of so much loss, right? Total inspiration, right? I mean, can we do even like a thumbnail's amount of that in our lives? So, I did mention something about Perrysburg and Rengetsu, so I'm going to make the connection. So, Perrysburg is named after Commodore Perry, right? And Commodore Perry was, I believe, the brother of the Commodore Perry that opened up Japan in 1853. So he would have gone into a port city that would have had Rengetsu's pottery there. Isn't that amazing? And in fact, it's said that she was kind of not happy about these Western barbarians coming in and messing up with things. There was a whole big shake-up at that time. It's called the Meiji era. And interestingly enough, where I grew up in Boston, the Museum of Fine Arts has the largest collection of Meiji era art in the world. So I grew up hanging around with all that art because I would go to that museum all the time. And in fact, there were her pots were there, so I looked at them back in the day. Who knew that I'd be here so close to Perrysburg? So let's see. So she died in 1875. So with all of that grief in her life, she was able to live to 84 as a woman, alone, in the sort of mid to late 1800s. Astonishing, is it not? So let's just listen to her poetry again. Clad in black robes, I should have no attractions to the shapes and scents of this world. But how can I keep my vows, gazing at today's crimson maple flowers? Another one. Autumn night. This autumn night, dozing and dreaming of this sorry world, then startled by the temple bell at daybreak. Morning glories. In a gap between the clouds, faint moonbeams reach down on grass tangled with morning glories. I cannot leave without breaking off a branch of the Tagano autumn maple. If a few leaves happen to fall, please forgive me, mountain guardians. Storm. The pine tree that provides my shade is driven down against my window by the raging storm. So you can feel how close and intimate she felt with the world and how much love she had for her life. And this is her legacy, and this is what she sends forth through these moonbeams of time to us, that we should love our life with all of its grief and sorrow and moonbeams and morning glories and autumn maple leaves.
We'll finish with the Bodhisattva Vows.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it.
Okay, the ship of compassion made it into port. Do we have any announcements today? Thank you all for being here. I don't know. Do you have a microphone?
I can speak loud.
I'm Ika. I just wanted to remind everyone about Sesshin this month to please register. The goal is to have people stay the night, but you know how those things go, so keep just a tentative plan, okay? So please register so we know how to organize all of that as we get back into the real deal of all of that. So if you know you're coming, please get on that. Also, I wanted to clarify, there might be some confusion about Doan's transmission is Friday the 22nd, and the open house, grand opening is Saturday the 23rd at 1:30. So that's a lot of stuff going on this month, but please put it all on your calendar and let us know that you'll be in. Thank you.
Any other announcements?
It's good to go.
Hi, my name is Bujo. Our Sangha circles are underway, and this is we had the highest number of people doing registered for that we ever have, so that's wonderful. We have 7 wonderful hosts. If you missed that ship of compassion and really wanted to sign up, come see me. There are a couple circles that could still take more people. But if you want to do that, please let me know as soon as possible, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Any further announcements?
Yeah, I've got one for the locals. You notice these beautiful cardboard boxes where the cafe is supposed to be. Turns out they're bunk beds, and the first bunk room has been assembled and established, but the second and third have yet to be done. So I guess there are some capable folks who are around with some tools, and if you're one of them, I'm so grateful for your assistance. If you'd like to join in, please do. It's a community lift to try to get these bunks made. They're gorgeous. You're going to love them. They have to be built. So if you can help today, please do.
Would there be shelves going up as well?
I gave you both ones.
Today. I thought that, I just wanted to clarify, you say that's going to be going on today?
Yeah, like in minutes.
Oh, fair enough.
Please restore the sender. Thank you.
you.